We're back to discuss The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, and this is where we actually get into the spoilers and talk more about the plot and that kind of stuff. And like I was trying to say in the review, I mean, I really liked the second Hunger Games movie. The second Hunger Games movie is just an improved version of the first Hunger Games movie, because they're the same story. And then I went to Mockingjay, and I was like, the first two acts I was on board. The third act, they sort of pull Katniss out of the action. Everything's going on without her. And then they get Peeta back, and that's where it ends. And in the original script, where it was going to end was Peeta choking her out, and it fades to black. That was the original cliffhanger. And they decided not to do that, which is probably smart. And they switched it to, you know, she wakes up and she goes and sees him and he's crazy, and then it ends. Mm-hmm. This movie just went all over the place. We had, like, the Resistance aliens in the sewers all of a sudden.
Those were scary.
It's just out of nowhere.
That actually goes back to
The book?
a screw-up they did in the very first movie. In the first movie, you have the hounds that they release at the end of the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And they're dogs. They're called mutts. In the book, they're half humanoid, half dog. Like, to the point that you can look at their face and see, like, human features. You can tell who they're directed at.
Sure.
This brought back those humanoid features, but lost the dog features. It's kind of like, let's screw it up in the other direction. It's very, very strange, the choices they've made with their interpretations of the book.
It just was not an effective story in any respect. There was tons of, is this a dream sequence or not? There was tons of, a character gets knocked out and a bunch of action happens off screen that has to be conveyed to them by a letter or by a conversation or something like that. Like, all the action that's in part 2 is what made part 2 a really fun movie. Mm-hmm. And Mockingjay Part 1, I mean, the parts that you didn't see, if you walked in for the last 20 minutes of it, Mockingjay Part 1 is also really repetitive, because it's just building propaganda video number 1, building propaganda video number 2, on and on and on. This one, they're trying to capture the city and trying to win things back from Snow, and they've planted the seeds along the way that maybe Julianne Moore's character is not all that she's cracked up to be. They telegraph from a mile away in the movie that she's going to get shot at the end. Like, if you didn't see that happening, like the way that they're setting up everybody in the square, and she's got a perfect shot for no reason, she's the only one standing up there for no reason, it's like, okay, we all know where this is going to go. And then again, it's like, and then everything just stops and we warp ahead in time some amount of time. And then we warp ahead in time again some amount of time.
This movie was hurt a lot by their decision not to recast Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Mm-hmm. Because they cut... they didn't have anything filmed for his character. So all of the dialogue that his character does to move everything along, all his explanations of what's going on, his conversations with Katniss, they're all cut.
Yeah.
He's limited to, here he is in the background, here he is smirking over here. That's it.
Well, that's what I thought the letter was about at the end.
Well, that's what the letter's about, but there's more conversation that's going on before she goes to the battle zone or whatever. I think that he talks to her, like,
Plutarch is a massive, massive character in this book.
Yeah, he talks to her a lot throughout the whole process. And even when they're in the whole, the oil spill and the commander pulls her gun on her because she wants the machine, like, I feel like there's more dialogue and more struggle within that group as well. That wasn't just the only time that happened.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, they couldn't decide like what to focus on, and so they just did this like kitchen sink approach where everything that they could put into this movie, they put into this movie. I was really confused about why Prim was at the Capitol at the end.
how she got there so quick.
Why is she there? Like, I don't understand it. And that's not fair. Like, you shouldn't be required to read a book to understand the movie.
True.
Like,
True.
If that's the requirement, I'll just read the book.
And most times you should just read the book.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the bad thing, is they didn't do enough explanation of why things were framed the way they were. Like, the siege of the Capitol in the book it's over like that.
It's quick. There's more development after.
Yeah, it's really, they surround the palace in no time at all, maybe half of a chapter. And that's when things start setting up that, the first responders are there trying to help out around the Capitol, and that's when the bombs go off. It was just a very clunky ending. They built up the siege of the Capitol so long that when it finally got to the end, it was over in a couple seconds, whereas in the book, it's all over in a few pages. Like, the siege doesn't take that long. It's not like it's building up to something huge. It's over and done. Boom.
Yeah, we had a movie and a half to build it up.
Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense. Because
and it's what you're expecting at the end of Mockingjay Part 1. What you're expecting at the end of Mockingjay Part 1 is this really cool battle sequence of all the stuff that they've learned coming into play, and, Snow's got all the Hunger Games toys, and they've got all the skills, and they're going to go and fight it out one last time. And no, they just sort of do like a short mission, and then it cuts to black, and then it's much, much later, and some characters are dead and some aren't. And
I think had they have, in part 1, gotten up to the point where they're getting ready to storm the palace or the castle or his house, and then stopped, and then with continuing on, the second movie, completed the mission, and then built up to what Coin's character is, and then how she would have survived, I think that would have been a movie, but it wouldn't have been long enough.
no, I mean, I think you need to cut it to one movie.
Yeah, exactly. So because of that, I think a lot of the stuff in maybe, say, part 2, in part 1, act 2, almost half of that could have been deleted.
Yeah, I mean, they spend... Okay, so there's a thing that happens in the beginning of part 2 where they go and take District 12 back.
District 2.
District 2, and it's about a 5-minute sequence, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the propaganda stuff should have gone. It should have been like a 5 or 10 minute sequence. It would have been a cool 5 or 10 minute sequence. Instead, it's like the whole first half of the first Mockingjay movie, and it's just repetition. It's just the same thing over and over again. And again, it builds up that final confrontation as something that's going to be really big and impressive, and it's not. The battle doesn't happen on screen, and then the conversation with Snow is the one that we expect it to be, because they've set it up from the beginning, like Julianne Moore can't be trusted, she's the next Snow, so on and so forth, and then they just kill her off. It's like, okay.
Knew this was going to happen.
And then we get into Return of the King territory, where then she lives by herself with the cat. And then she finds PETA. And then some time passes and she has kids.
Yeah.
It's like the Harry Potter ending.
It was, for better or worse, exactly like the book. So.
That's really too bad. I feel sorry for people that read the books then.
The book, it builds so magnificently towards this huge battle, and then it's over in like a page and a half.
I think I was satisfied with reading the books.
Oh God!
Not satisfied with
anybody
watching
else
movies.
in the world.
Well, because
I can see where that would make a
my
better book than a movie.
expectations- Yeah, my expectations. I don't want something to go on and on forever, be drawn out 20 pages or 30 pages just because it's so cool to write about somebody dying, or you know what I mean. Like, great, you ended it. Let's see how the rest of her life played on.
Yeah, I think that they had to. It's a common problem where if you let somebody adapt a book into a movie, you need to let them do it. And if you're going to have somebody try and do a true page to screen transfer instead of an adaptation, if you're trying to make what happens in the book what happens on the screen, then you have to like live with the fact that it's not going to be a very good movie.
Yeah.
Because they're just not the same medium. They don't work the same way. You can't have a story where the climax happens 45 minutes before the end of the movie. You know, and that's what happened in this movie.
Yeah.
And maybe they were hoping that the climax would actually be her killing Coin. I don't know. You know,
They made that scene so boring.
well, and so telegraphed. It was like, yeah, just get to it. Yeah, just kill her. We all know you're going to kill her. Just kill her. Somebody kill her.
Anybody.
Somebody just kill her. You know, and I sure, maybe it would have been, 10% better if they had more conversations with Philip Seymour Hoffman, but honestly, I got enough exposition as it was.
I think it would have been better because I think it would have led the conversation, and I think it would have led the movie in a different direction completely.
But then he
other
becomes...
things would have been shorter and less drawn out, and
there would have been less filler, I think.
Yeah, I think by the end of this movie, I got tired of Katniss being in the hospital for everything.
She woke up from being knocked out like 7 times.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's soap operatic. It's like, here, let's, throw in an amnesia plot line and Peeta's not sure who he is, and there's this love triangle that's like, like all 3 people in the love triangle are like, we're in a love triangle together. Yes, we are. Okay. Well, if one of us dies, then she won't have to choose. Yeah, that's true too.
Well, the thing that...
That's how love triangles work. Yeah. Are we sure? Yes. That is how a love triangle works.
Like, the beauty of it is that actual conversation happens in the movie.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's how on the nose and ridiculous it is.
The interesting thing, the movies did not build Gil as a character at all. Like, he was just kind of in the background. They clearly
that's true.
pushed Peeta and Katniss, whereas in the book, Gil has a lot bigger role. And so you're not near as invested in the movies as you know she's going to go with Peeta. In the book, it wasn't so cut and dry.
Wasn't very obvious.
Yeah. In fact, even in the epilogue, she's having her doubts.
Woman.
Sounds satisfying. Well, on that note, that is Mockingjay Part 2. 2 Mockingjay, 2 Hungry games. If you like the way we do these, please like the video, subscribe, check out all the written and video reviews at dalemaxfield.com, and thanks for watching.